irregularities, examining them, and providing an explanation, and see where there really are problems so we can correct it moving forward. Senator Paul.
Mr. Chairman, I got to respond to that. I mean, you're saying I'm putting out information. Well, one, it had nothing to do with this report.
You lied repeatedly.
I did not.
You lied repeatedly in the press that I was spreading Russian disinformation, and that was an outright lie. And I told you to stop lying, and you continue to do it.
Mr. Chairman, this is not about airing your grievances. I don't know what rabbit hole you're running down.
You talked about Russian disinformation.
Rabbit holes.
Senator Paul.
This is simply not what we're dealing with. Paul. Well, Mr. Chairman, you can't make these false allegations and then dropping it there. That is why this committee needs to return to
Senator Paul.
partisan things. This is terrible what you're doing to this committee and all the great work that you talked about.
It is what you have done to this committee.
It is not
falsely accusing the chairman of spreading disinformation. Nothing could have been further from the truth, and you're spouting it again, which is why I had to respond. Senator Paul.
Mr. Chairman.
Judge Starr.
This is outrageous.
Judge Starr.
Hello, and Paul, why are you lying to the American people? Why are you purposely inspiring people like the Proud Boys to go around and yell, "Stop the steal," and beating the hell out of people in the streets? Rand, why are you doing that? I don't get it. What's in it for you, Rand, to be a liar to your people, to your constituents? Why do you want to spread violence across America by spreading this lie? Why do you want to undermine American democracy? Why do you want to undermine faith in our system, Rand? Because I got to say, I don't get it. Because you know it's a lie. You know there's no widespread voter fraud, and yet you keep stirring the lie up. So I'm just curious, what's in it for you? Is this a 90-10 issue in Kentucky? No, I think people in Kentucky like American democracy. So who are you playing to? Who is this for? Donald Trump's, he's leaving the White House in a couple of weeks. You can't go golfing with him anymore. Huh? Help us out here, Rand. Help us out. Why do you keep lying to people in Kentucky?
And yet the deluded Trump dead-enders will not give up, not because they genuinely think there's a path to staying in power, but because they're fully invested in the belief that their opponents are illegitimate and any votes for Democrats are fraudulent. On Monday, after the Electoral College vote, the far-right network Newsmax tried to brush it off like it was some inconsequential technicality.
There are people right now who are out there calling Joe Biden the president-elect. Now, at this point, there is some political and some historical justification for them to do so at this point. I personally feel they're wrong.
No, you personally feel they're wrong? You don't want your controversial views to stain the sterling journalistic reputation of Newsmax, which up until recently got less attention than a stand-up comic opening at Ozfest. How's everybody doing? You guys ready to thrash? First, that's great. Where are my married guys at? Where are my married guys at? Married guys? I don't know much about Newsmax, but it sounds like the name of one of those fake news shows. It's really just a late-night infomercial for hair plugs.
Welcome, live from the nation's capital. It is Thursday, the 17th of December, the year of our Lord 2020. You're in the war room. Got my co-host wingman, Maggie VandenBerghe, Fog City Midge, sitting right here to the right. If you don't think they're nervous, just look at what went down. Joe Scarborough's hair's on fire. Why is his hair on fire? Very simple. They understand that the truth is coming out. They cannot take hearings like yesterday, press conferences like yesterday. We're being relentless. And no, Seth Meyer, it's not dead enders. And it's not all votes, Joe Scarborough. It's not all votes, Seth Meyer. We're going to count all legal votes, all certifiable votes, all votes that had a chain of custody. I know you don't like it, but we're relentless, and we're not stopping on this. I want to bring in now John. We got a massive show today. Got Peter Navarro on his incredible report called The Immaculate Deception that Liz Yore, who has incredibly high standards, the prosecutor from Chicago, says is the most expensive and brilliant piece has been written about this entire steal. It's up on Miranda Devine in the New York Post. The great columnist has got a lead column on it today. We're going to have Peter Navarro on. We're going to have Sean Parnell on from Pennsylvania. Jack Posobiec, One American News, is going to be on to talk about DNI in this report, the CIA trying to slow walk the President of the United States. We've got we're going to have, this thing is going to be jam-packed today. We're going to go from Arizona to Wisconsin to Michigan, the whole thing, get into this report. John McLaughlin's here. On the polling, ladies and gentlemen, we're winning. So take a deep breath, get a cup of coffee. Let's hunker down. We're not just holding the line. We're moving the chains now, and they hate it. And sorry they're going to hate it. They're going to hate it a lot more day by day by day. John Fredericks, what's our update? In once again, your Georgia Star News, and everybody, this is another site people have to go to, the Tennessee Star, the Georgia Star. Put it up on your homepage with Revolver News, with Populous Press, with Citizens Free Press. All these sites, Wetfinger, get them all up there. You should be going to them all day long, collating your own information, weaponize your own information and push it out to your friends, your colleagues, everybody. Push this information out all day long. Let's go to, and by the way, the story there is once more into the weeds, which is great. DeKalb County, 60,000 mail-in votes, no chain of custody, no report's been done, right? This is the details. This is what, remember, these Democrats yesterday on the committee, Joe Scarborough, Seth Meyer, never want to address the issues, right? And this is the power of what's happening. With more forums, more people are seeing and sitting there going, whoa, 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 I didn't know that. What are you talking about, no chain of custody? That's a problem. John Fredericks, what's our update in Georgia?
I would take your advice, though, and start with this cup of coffee for your show today. So thank you for
John Fredericks. Did you shave? Or are you trying to be Steve Bannon? Or
No, I didn't want to come on. Normally, I get up at 4 and at 3:30 every day, and I shave, a shower, put a suit on. But I got in very late last night, and I didn't get up till 5. And then you wanted to get me on at 10, and I'm pushing back your producers. I'm like, no, I got to shave.
No, but this look is much better. This is what we want. Take the tie off, throw away the suit, get into the movement. Right? Okay, go ahead. I don't want to take away your airtime.
Go ahead, thank you. Okay, so let me give you an update on Georgia. Here's the situation right now. Let's start with Kelly Loeffler. She sent a tweet out two nights ago after we were imploring her that in order to get the deplorables fired up, go vote for you. You're losing 15%. They're staying home where they're not doing anything. Is you got to fight for Trump. So she sends a tweet out and she says, "I will fight for Trump. He fought for me." This is 2 nights ago, and I'm like, okay, she's getting the message. I'm feeling good about it now. The next day, yesterday, she goes to early vote, and she gets accosted by a media person from the Atlanta Journal Fake News Constitution who asks her, "So, I saw your tweet last night. Does this mean that on January 6th, you're going to vote to decertify Georgia if you're elected to the U.S. Senate?" And instead of her saying, "Yes, absolutely, there's so many irregularities here, I'm going to absolutely stand with Trump and vote to decertify it," she says that she wins. Instead, she says, "Well, I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on my election on January 5th. So I really haven't thought about that." So that was that's just not a bad answer. That's a stupid answer. Okay, it's a stupid answer.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Keep going. That's redonkulous.
Well,
but keep going.
The other thing it did is it took all the shine from her tweet the prior night. It took that away, and then that tweet looked like just a political statement to placate people with nothing behind it. So it really made the whole thing backfire. So I don't know what Karl Rove is telling these people to do, but it's just not resonating. Now, here's what's going on with the early voting and the cheating on January 5th, because it's happening again. Number one, I'm going to do 4 of these right in a row. Number one, Fulton County has implemented mobile voting. So they have RVs with voting machines on them, apparatus, and they're driving around 80-90% Democratic areas in Fulton County. It's the only county doing this, trying to get people to come and vote right on the RV. Okay, number one, that's illegal, because in the voting code of Georgia, it says if you're going to add voting locations, it's got to be a government building. So unless now an RV is a government building on wheels, that's illegal. That's number one. Nobody's challenging it because they do whatever they want. Number two, Fulton County fired the 2 poll watchers. Both of them have been with Fulton County over 9 years, 1-9, 1-10, fired the 2 people that did affidavits against Fulton County alleging fraud. They get fired. So they tell the truth, they do an affidavit, they get fired by Fulton County. That's number two. Number three, 80,000 new voters registered in Georgia in 3 weeks. The vast majority of those by the Democrats. 25,000 has already voted in the first 3 days, either by mail or early voting. That's illegal because there's a code in the, I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. There's a code that says in Georgia, if you have a runoff, you can't vote in the runoff if you didn't vote in the original election. So Raffensperger just tossed that aside like it didn't matter. So that's illegal. So you got these new voters voting. This is going to all get challenged again. I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous.
What challenge is happening right now? What challenge is happening on this last one? Because the 80,000 is a massive number, and the 25,000.
Well, nothing. I mean, somebody's got to file a lawsuit. I mean, I had Greg Dolezal on today, one of the Gang of Four state senator, who said this is clearly illegal. It's another deal that Raffensperger made with Stacey Abrams that nobody has any idea where it is. But the code is clear. If you didn't vote in the first one, you can't vote in the second one. That's Georgia code. I didn't make this up. Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, and Stacey Abrams overrode that. They have no basis to do that, nor do they have a basis to send around a mobile voting unit. Then we find out today that a new rule went out that said that the Republican poll watchers, all the poll watchers, have to now be 100 feet, 100, not 10, 100. 100 feet, that's like on a football field, Steve, that's like 30 yards. I mean, is your eyesight that good 30 yards away? They have to be 100 feet away from any of the ballots being, any of the signature matches being done. So unless you've got binocular, a periscope, I mean, this is insanity.
Okay. Here's a question. There's enough guys of the Trump campaign, the chairman of the Trump campaign. You got the chairman of the Republican Party. Who's in charge in Georgia? Who's actually stepping up and taking leadership? I know you got Senator Burt Jones, you got Senator Beach, you've got these other guys, but like who's organizing like the challenge to the Georgia code, where it's clearly you've got to vote in the original to get standing to actually vote in the runoff. Who's, and by the way, can you stay over through the break? But the question we have to you right now before we go to break: who is in charge?
David Schaefer, the chairman of the Republican Party of Georgia, should be the one that's doing this. He filed lawsuits. But remember, he's fighting the leaders in his own party. This is the difficult position they're in. And they have this consent decree that's totally illegal. Raffensperger is justifying everything he does.
Okay, let's go.
So
we're going to take a short break. We got to sell some John Fredericks ads. Make some money here.
Yes, do it.
We got to pay for that roadshow down there. And to get you a razor.
Do it early and do it often.
Upgrade on your.
I know.
Okay. Short break. John Fredericks, Peter Navarro, the great one. Join us after the break. Next on War and Pandemic.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, we're going to return to Georgia and John Fredericks. Up momentarily will be the great Peter Navarro, the assistant to the president, about this. The report is called The Immaculate Conception. I want to tell the War Room guys right now, if we can get this up in the
Immaculate Deception.
Immaculate Deception.
It's a great name.
Immaculate Deception. I'm thinking actually my Catholic, the Holy Day of Obligation. Okay, let's go to John Fredericks. John, the Georgia Star reports again, DeKalb County, no chain of custody, 60,000 votes. you go through with the lawyer Smith, you got 140 or 150,000 illegal votes, right? Forget the mail-in where you're doing the signature count in Cobb. What is going on in Georgia today? Get to the bottom of the 140 or 150,000 illegal votes, whether they're post office boxes, too young to vote, living in multiple states, that with this lack of chain of title of these things, and just the election officials down there being so arrogant, like they don't have to make any of these deadlines. They're going to drop it when they're going to drop it. What's our status on that, and who's fighting it down there?
Well, you're not going to like the answer, because the answer is no one and nothing. And so that's what's concerning to us all. Basically, everything now is riding on the Linwood lawsuit. He's got all this in it. He's on the docket of the Supreme Court, and Sidney Powell's lawsuit. Everything is riding on it. Because there's no General Assembly special session on the election, there's nothing the General Assembly can do. Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, the Republican weasel, has basically signed off on everything. So there's nothing to do other than file lawsuits. David Schaefer's filed 3 of them. They've gotten nowhere with them, because what the judges are saying is Raffensperger's got the right to make this deal with Stacey Abrams. So what the politicians are telling me in Georgia, those that really understand the fraud that's going on, is they're going to fix it in their session in 2021 come January. That's post January 5.
Yeah, forget that.
Now,
who cares? Who cares?
You're going to get another stream of lawsuits.
Okay.
It's after the fact. It's like Lynn Wood said, after the fact doesn't do anything. You got to do it now.
Okay.
Linwood.
Yep.
Linwood. Let me just say one other thing.
Yep.
Linwood has filed a lawsuit to postpone the election till February until all this is resolved. And that's on the docket of the Supreme Court. They're going to have to make a decision on that.
I think we got to press on and win this now. The reason is we need Perdue and Loeffler, for all the Trump supporters, we need them in there to fight in January for this stealing the vote. But I'll get into the details later. Let me be brutally frank. If this Georgia situation is not resolved in the next couple of days, and what I mean by that, some action on a special session, some stopping all this nonsense and illegality, Loeffler and Perdue stepping up and showing the Trump voters that they're in this fight now, and in this fight means calling for a special session now, and it means that on January 6th, after they're reelected, that both of them will individually say, I don't care about Mitch McConnell, I'm going to back Mo Brooks, and we're going to go through this thing if we have to. If we haven't already won by then, we're going to go through in the Senate, we're going to go through state by state. We're going to take this. The Constitution says 2 hours apiece. There's 6 states up, and let's throw in New Mexico as 7. There's going to be 14 hours of hearings and debate about this, and we're going to do that. If that does not happen, the end of the Republican Party will be in Georgia on January 5th. If this is not sorted out and we lose those seats, we've lost those seats for only one reason: not the Trump voters, not the Trump movement, and not the president of these United States. We have lost this because of the incompetence and cowardice of the Republican establishment in Georgia, and how that seeps all the way up to Mitch McConnell. If Mitch McConnell wants to be leader, and guess what? For many people who don't like him, who don't trust him, who don't think anything, hey, him being leader is important, but a contingent to be leader, they have to deal with this, and all of his secret phone calls and all his stuff talking to his conference that we don't want a tough vote, right? We just want to kick the can down the road. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be leader. It's not Stephen K. Bannon saying that. It's not John Fredericks saying that. It's not the President of the United States saying that. You know who's saying that? They're telling that to a beloved figure, Corey Lewandowski. I happened to go back last night and listen to the whole John Fredericks show when Corey's up there. Corey Lewandowski, who's been on your show for 7 years, is a beloved figure, is one of the closest guys to the president, who understands the Trump movement, got lit up, ever seen before, by American citizens, Trump voters who just don't want to hear it anymore. They don't want to hear it. And the reason they don't want to hear it is they're actually smart. They understand what has to happen. And it's got to start in Georgia. John Fredericks, you're doing an amazing job. Michael Patrick Leahy, your wingman on the Georgia Star News, is doing a great job. The radio show's on fire. You're doing you're doing the Lord's work for this republic, for the Constitution, and for the people of the great state of Georgia. So I can't, and people should understand, John Fredericks left his home. He was up there broadcasting with us all night. You had the Chinese, you had the G News and GTV guys, you had John Fredericks, you had the One America guys, and you had us all freezing. John Fredericks packs up like the next day or the day after. He's in Georgia. He's been down there. He's been down there the entire time. I think he took a couple of days off with the family over Thanksgiving. Other than that, I don't want to hear all the nonsense about the Club for Growth and the Americans for Prosperity and all these guys that flit in there and spend a weekend. John Fredericks been down there 20 hours a day, 7 days a week since the election was over. Why? He understands the importance of Georgia. We get it. We understand it. So, Fredericks, you're an American hero and you're a patriot. And there's no higher compliment in the War Room lexicon. So thank you very much. Thank you for everything you're doing. Now, go shave and shower and do whatever you got to do to pretty up. But thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for the work you're doing.
Thanks for the coffee.
You're brave. Coffee's for closers, by the way, Fredericks. Coffee's for closers. Here's the other thing. Donald J. Trump is the biggest closer and the greatest closer in American history. He closed the deal in 2016, and he's going to close this deal. He won on the 3rd. Understand YouTube, the official, and I want to go back, safe harbor, yes. It was Joe Biden. On Electoral College, which we blew through, Electoral College on the 14th, yes, but note to self, YouTube monitors. I think there was a hearing in the United States Senate yesterday. That's what we put out there. And the Senator Johnson of Wisconsin, who's no firebrand, said, "You're a liar." Called another senator. You lied repeatedly. You're a liar. Everything comes out of your mouth is a lie. When you talk about this Russia hoax regarding to hard drive from hell and Hunter Biden, okay, just a stone cold liar, Russian disinformation. That's all going to be. It's all been proven now. It's going to really be proven when the President of the United States puts a special prosecutor on this, as he must do, to look at the Chinese Communist Party infiltration of this. Okay, I want to go now to Peter Navarro. This is very special. Miranda Devine, who's an absolute hammer, wrote this incredible piece in the New York Post. We're going to get that up. It's on Peter Navarro's new report, The Immaculate Deception. But I got to give the Maggie, jump in here right after. I just want to read Liz Yore, the hammer prosecutor from Chicago, sent me this morning. And Liz Yore is not just a hammer, she's brilliant. The Navarro report is the most comprehensive, brilliantly documented, powerfully written narrative of the steal of the century. Oh, my God. Let me repeat that. From Liz Yore, former prosecutor in Chicago. The Navarro report is the most comprehensive, brilliantly documented, powerfully written narrative of the steal of the century, the steal of this election. And Liz Yore has been one of our wingmen. She's in the details all over the nation. So when Liz Yore says that, there's no higher compliment, because she does not throw out bouquets every now and again. She's very exacting. Maggie, VandenBerghe.
I got to say, this report is impressive. And Raheem messaged and said they have an article up on the National Pulse called "Theft by 1,000 Cuts. The report conclusive on election fraud, slams media cover-up." So if our audience wants to check it out,
links, yes.
they've got this embedded in the article, and you can read just sort of the 31-page document that outlines basically the fraud across 6 key battleground states. And I just sort of wanted to highlight and introduce what this report concludes overall. That the patterns of election irregularities observed in this report are so consistent across the 6 battleground states that they suggest a coordinated strategy to, if not steal the election, then to strategically game the election process. And they go on in such a way as to, swing the ticket for Biden-Harris.
Okay, let me bring in the individual who's done more to support working men. I mean, this is President Trump's go-to guy on the 2016 campaign, or very early on, came up with the analysis of the problem with the Chinese Communist Party, what they had done to deindustrialize America. He's been there since the very beginning. And here's the thing. No give up, no back down. You talk about holding the line. This guy's been holding the line for years, okay? The reason we have populist economics, and inside he's fought nonstop to represent American workers, American families in the middle class. And it's just absolutely incredible. A man of incredible bravery, because it's been so easy to quit, so easy to roll over, so easy just to surrender. But This is the people that are involved in this fight now. There's no surrender in them. You can see Rudy Giuliani, John Fredericks, Bernie Carrick, Peter Navarro, Jenna Ellis, right? Maggie VandenBerghe. They call us the dead enders. Hey, we're proud of that. That's like calling us deplorables to the 10th power, okay? Because we're never going to stop. And once you read this report's a framing device. It is the Immaculate Deception, 6 key dimensions of election irregularities. And it's called the Navarro report. It's in the New York Post today. Miranda Devine, the great columnist, has a report up there. Other than calling it election irregularities, which is kind of the left-wing term. Okay, I've got to jump here. We got a short commercial break. We're going to return. We're finally going to get Peter Navarro in here. Peter Navarro will join us after the break to go through the Immaculate Deception.
We're taking down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. They have all lied for too long. We will end.
Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room. Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, this show is ubiquitous throughout the world with millions of viewers every day and 24 million downloads on our podcast. I want to thank John Fredericks Radio Network, Real America's Voice, the streaming service of the Trump Revolution, now Dish Channel 219 and Comcast Channel 113, G News, GTV, and Mandarin throughout the world, blown through the firewall, plus all the diaspora of China. On Rumble, YouTube, we just crossed 300,000 subscribers on YouTube. The show is massive, getting bigger, and the reason is we lay out the receipts every day. I want to turn now to Peter Navarro, the author of The Immaculate Deception, 6 Key Dimensions of Election Irregularities. Peter, we got plenty of time here. I want to first off quickly give your bona fides. People know you as the the fighter that's on Maria Bartiromo and Squawk Box, and you're taking on Chuck Todd over there. But walk through why you particularly are the guy that can do this report. Walk us through that.
I'm going to do that. I want to start. I want to give your listeners and viewers, who are the smartest audience in the world at this point, just the 5 key takeaways, and I'll walk through that.
Okay.
What we got is a coordinated strategy to stuff the ballot box with Biden votes and destroy Trump ballots, number 1. Number 2, the number of possible illegal votes dwarfs the alleged Biden victory margins in the battlegrounds, the 6 battleground states that are under review. Number 3, this is really important, Steve. This is death by 1,000 cuts, by 6 dimensions of these election irregularities rather than a single silver bullet. It's a very complex step. Number 4, like Tolstoy's unhappy families, each one of these states, and I'll walk through this for you later, each state is different in how it engineered the theft. And this day is for me, is symbolic because of something that happened today. But the last takeaway is the only thing worse than this theft itself is the self-censoring cover-up by the anti-Trump media, the censoring social media, corporate America, the Republican establishment, and the courts at both the state and federal levels. And what happened today was in trying to get this report out, we had a news wire refusing to put it out because they don't want to hear the truth. That's the 5 takeaways, Steve. Now, in terms of my bona fides, look, Harvard PhD economist, but also what I did when I was at Harvard and throughout my career was a lot of stuff in regulatory law. So I know my way around court cases as well as economics and statistics, right? So what I did was I basically put on my Harvard hat. I took a week holed up in my house and basically looked at thousands of affidavits, many of which aren't out in the general public at this point. I looked at the public testimony. I looked at photos. I looked at videos. I looked at press accounts. And by the way, the best coverage is not the New York Times and Washington Post. That's awful coverage. It's things like Raheem Kassam's National Pulse, John Solomon's Just the News, and Steve Bannon's War Room, right? So what I gleaned from that Okay, my approach there was, okay, what do we got? Okay, we got 6 categories of what we gently call election irregularities, but one of them is outright voter fraud. That's pure theft. A second one is ballot mishandling. The third is these process fouls, like not letting observers in. There's the fourth is the Equal Protection Clause violations, which is like treating Republican voters or observers different from Democrats in a way which stuffs the Biden ballot box. The fifth dimension is all these voting machine irregularities, and the Dominion, I mean, that thing stinks to high heaven, but there's 2 other companies, Agilus and Novus, that are equally implicated in places like Arizona and Nevada. And then finally, you've got all sorts of statistical anomalies, right? So that's kind of the approach I took, Steve, and again, the finding here is just awful.
Okay, let me slow down for a second. Okay, you're not just an economist of the Harvard PhD. You are a tenured faculty member. You're a regulatory economist, and the regulatory economists are somebody that's got to get into the details and how regulation deals with math and statistics.
And the law.
And the law. And the law.
Yeah, published in law journals. Right.
So what is it? Because the mainstream media, Seth Meyers and Joe Scarborough are going to say Peter Navarro's final hat on, right? He was a guy, and people can criticize the tariffs. Did they work? Did they not work? Everything like that. But no one's criticized the intellectual background of your work. They've said we don't believe the tariffs work. We think they hurt workers, all that. But it's been a policy debate on what sides. Nobody's criticized your math and your analytical abilities of getting things, of looking at things. What was it when you first looked at this? How did you come up with just the way you researched it and looked at it? That this, because this is what hasn't been done by anybody. We say 3 verticals, but you're saying it's broader. 6 key dimensions across 6 states. How did you? Was it you going through the affidavits? Was it going you through the mathematical anomalies? What led you to get to the point that there's 6 key dimensions across these 6 states?
Well, first of all, if you go to like midnight on election night, what you saw was an election where President Trump had effectively an insurmountable lead in 4 battleground states, in Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. I mean, he was up by 356,000 votes in Georgia, 500,000 in Pennsylvania, 300,000 in Michigan, and over 100,000 in Wisconsin. And when I saw kind of in the middle of the morning, like at the dead of night, these large ballot drops start coming in, and then over time, these huge Trump leads go down to what are very, very slim margins, Steve, okay? Across all of these states, I mean, the margin in Arizona is just 10,000 votes, okay? The ballots in question are over 100,000. In Georgia, it's just 12,000 votes Biden allegedly won by, but there's over 400,000 ballots in question. Nevada, 33,000, it's over 100,000. So when I saw all of these states basically turn the red tide of Trump into this Biden blue, it's like, no, wait a minute. That looks hinky, funky, stinky, right? So I thought that in the days following, we would have an army of lawyers on our side coming out, and a lot of people coming out and exposing all this. And I was frankly shocked by what happened after that. I mean, if it weren't for Bannon's War Room and the National Pulse and Solomon and Real American News, I mean, we wouldn't even be talking about this stuff. So what I did, Steve, was I did my Harvard thing. It's like I went in and did the research, came up with a 31-page, 150-footnote report after reading thousands of documents and over 50 court cases. And this is what I found. And, I mean, if people don't like it out there, it won't be the first time. I remember back in 2006 when I wrote The Coming China Wars. People said I had tinfoil hat on there, and it's like, you're crazy. It's like, no, China's our friend. And now, in 2020, that book reads like a mild government report, right? I'm not wrong here. That they stole the election from Nixon in '60, and it took like decades before that was even acknowledged. This historically will be acknowledged because it's the greatest theft in American history. And, hey, Steve, if we can't, as the greatest democracy in the world, can't run a free and fair election, all hope is lost. All hope is lost. So we got to get to the bottom of this. The key, the key action out of the war room here is we got to get to the bottom of this before January 5th and the Georgians vote and before Inauguration Day. Otherwise, this is going to be an illegitimate Biden presidency and illegal Biden presidency.
Okay, let me go a couple things. Number one, are you prepared to go on CNN with Cuomo, with Anderson Cooper, or go on MSNBC with Ari Melber, with the best minds they've got at these two networks, and go head to head, have them go through and do analysis of your report and stand there and defend it? Yes or no?
Of course. And over the last 4 years, I've basically been one of the go-to guys in the White House that's willing to go out on CNN and MSNBC and take those people on. And look, this is solid research based on a mound of evidence. And anybody who says there's no evidence is lying through their teeth to the American people. Anybody who says, well, all the courts have rejected this, haven't understood why these cases have failed in the courts. It's not because of the facts. It's because of politics and procedure. And, it's like we've been failed by everybody, Steve. We've been failed by everybody. Yeah, well, okay, it's a given. Washington Post, New York Times, they're gonna screw us.
No, but by the way, so Wisconsin, you're starting to see now Wisconsin that the dissenting opinions agree with this. The power of this, and let me just reemphasize, hedge funds all over the world watch this show. They have people watch this show. News producers all over the world watch this show. Why? They realize on the pandemic we were ahead of things, on the impeachment we were ahead of things. We're always ahead of things. Tomorrow's news today. When you look at this chart that Peter Navarro has on page 2, and if we can get the chart up, or page 2 of the report, right? If you look at the chart, the 6 dimensions, there's not one hedge fund guy I know on the analytics side that does not agree with this. Everybody knows this was stolen. They look at the math, they look at the anomalies, and you've seen Shiva's analysis, Dr. Shiva and these other guys, Dave Ramaswamy. They look at they all have done this. Peter Navarro has now memorialized this and now put it out for the American people. The first thing that has to happen, knowing the war room, they're asking us right now, you must push this out. I told you yesterday, this is the one you want your neighbors to read. Attach the Miranda Devine op-ed on it, the column. Miranda Devine did a great job of kind of summarizing it, but push it out to your neighbors. First off, go through there and learn, and we're going to what I'm thinking of doing is working with Navarro on his free time and actually getting a TED Talk like Steve Cortez, or maybe even have Cortez do it, right? One of these TED Talks of 15 or 20 minutes that goes through the Immaculate Deception, the 6 key dimensions of election, I would say fraud, but Peter Navarro's kind. He says irregularities because he wants to prove it. Peter, can you stay over through this commercial break and get Raheem Kassam? And I just want to say one thing as a thank you. When Peter Navarro goes through there and says Raheem Kassam's National Pulse, John Solomon's Just the News, and The War Room, they are all shows and affiliates of Real America's Voice. And I think the management of Real America's Voice, the entire team at Real America's Voice, has got to be complimented. Day in and day out, and the production team in Denver, and by the way, they crush it and crash it to make sure this show goes, Raheem's shows goes, John Solomon's. They have done yeoman's work in providing facts. And no one's come back and refuted any of the facts we put out, just like didn't refute any of the facts in the pandemic when people laughed in our face. And Real America Voice had our back in launching the pandemic show in mid-January of 2019 or 2020, where mainstream media was laughing at us. And Peter Navarro, remember, it's Peter Navarro's memo that President Trump acted upon in the last week of January when Tony Fauci and Azar and these guys, Mulvaney, were all laughing at him. It's his memo that saved millions of lives and started the quarantine and stopped the traffic from China. It was his memo and mathematical analysis that went to the president. We're going to return with Peter Navarro in a minute.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
If you're following the Inside Baseball, you know that DNI and CIA are having a huge blow-up right now about this report that's due because of the executive order President Trump put out in 2018 to basically make the elections a national security issue. There's now this huge debate. The CIA is slow-walking all the aspects of China's involvement in the 2020 election. Forget Russia and forget Iran. They're important. They're bad guys, but they're junior partners to the CCP. Russia's a sideshow and Iran's a sideshow to a sideshow. And I realize all the neocons, no, it's the CCP. Iran and the mullahs don't exist if they don't have CCP cash and the CCP's not buying their oil and CCP's not providing them with arms. Note to self, John Bolton. It's the Chinese Communist Party. 14 years ago, one voice, a Harvard economist, sat there after being there and said, hey, you don't understand something. These people, the Chinese Communist Party, are the mortal enemies of the Chinese people and the mortal enemies of the American people. 14 years ago, he published a book, mocked and ridiculed, and today we're holding up a report that shows how the Chinese Communist Party has infiltrated, had access, and has been involved in the 2020 election. And ladies and gentlemen, particularly the Biden campaign, embrace the fact that a special prosecutor will be announced to look at how you're compromised financially by the Chinese Communist Party. Who was that author? Peter Navarro. And today he's coming up and he's saying, if we don't sort this out now, between now and January 20th, the Immaculate Deception, over years and years and years, this is a scar that will not heal. Okay, the Democrats talk about unifying the country. What they should do, Joe Scarborough and Seth Meyer, all you running dogs for the establishment, is that Joe Biden's got to step up and say, you know what, we got to sort out what happened in Georgia. We got to sort out what happened in Wisconsin. We got to sort out what happened in Arizona. They don't want to do it because they understand, and you will understand after you read this report, of how they stole it in a coordinated effort. No conspiracy, but there are also no coincidences. Maggie, you got a question for Peter?
Yeah, well, people are really fired up about this report, and they want to know sort of what can they do with this information. They don't want to see this just get swept under the rug and for the media and everyone to continue to ignore it. So I guess our audience wants to know, what can they do to help get this information out there?
Peter Navarro.
The fulcrum that we have to really push here are going to be the state legislators in the battleground states, the courts themselves, and then the media. What we have now, I think, is a signal failure of many, if not most, of our institutions that make America great. I mean, we have essentially instituted self-censorship in this country within our own media, and it's being enforced by corporate America, by the Republican establishment, and by courts, including the Supreme Court, that won't even hear some of the claims and complaints that have been done. So people from the grassroots up simply have to reach out to each other, build the momentum, and talk to their media, talk to their political representatives, and just, I'm mad as hell and I ain't going to take it anymore.
Okay,
I mean, we're at Maggie, we are at a really critical juncture here. I mean, I got to tell you a story. It's like this morning, there's a company called PR Newswire, right? Steve knows it well. He's been around for more than 50 years. I mean, I remember using that thing back in the 90s, right? So we tried to put out a press release just announcing this report, and some grundoon named Aaron at this PR Newswire said, you can't do that. And it's like, what? it's probably like the first time in their history they ever basically said we're not sending something out. I mean, that is Chinese Communist Party self-censorship, either out of fear or out of the fixes in because they don't like the policies of an economic nationalist named Donald J. Trump. I mean, it's insane. And Maggie, we just got to shout from the rooftops in an intelligent way and keep pointing to the evidence. There is evidence. This is wrong. Bad stuff happens.
We are going to commit here at the War Room. We're going to weaponize this report. Come hell or high water, we're going to weaponize this report. We've got the best audience, the most important audience in the world. You're the guys that are driving the arc of history. We're going to make this happen. Peter, thank you so much.
One last thing.
Yeah.
If you think that Cuomo and Mel Airy would have me, if CNN's going to put me on to talk about it, you're dreaming.
No, we're going to work it. We're going to
CNBC's not going to talk about it. Nobody's going to talk about it.
Okay, we're going to let us go to work, and we'll find out what we can do here. Peter Navarro, Peter, are you still?
You guys are doing great work out, Patriots.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Every day, you know what? Somebody told me the other day. This show. I said this show's the easiest thing I've ever had to do. You got to show up in the morning, and you got to put patriots on like John Fredericks, patriots on like Peter Navarro, patriots on like Jack Posobiec. This is the easiest thing. We got Raheem Kassam. Raheem, I'm going to ask you to hold over the break. We're going to have to jam in McLaughlin and everything. Just real quickly, tell us about the National Pulse, the story you have up, and I want people to go to the National Pulse. You've done a great job on this too. Walk me through it.
Yeah, we've gone through the report since yesterday, pulling out the key matrices that are included in the report, and we've summarized them on the site as well, so you can see in visual format how all of this stuff breaks down, from the ballot mishandling, the protest fouls, the protection clause violations, the voting machine irregularities, and so on and so forth. Just breaking it down line by line, state by state, as it comes out of the report. You can check that out in its breakdown form at the National Pulse, and also, there's obviously this incredibly important polling that's coming out at the same time, so we'll get into that also in the next segment.
Okay, next segment, Raheem's going to stay over and tee up John McLaughlin. John McLaughlin, the great pollster for President Trump, has done some amazing analysis. You got to see this because we are winning. Right before we go to break, I want to reemphasize National Pulse every day at 3 o'clock. You hear Raheem's voice. You got to go to the National Pulse sites. They're doing an incredible job. Just the News, John Solomon, the top investigative reporter around, he's doing incredible news. All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room. You've got John Solomon's team, and you've got National Pulse. It's Real America's Voice that's driving the conversation, right? A startup. It's been around a couple of years, but now coming to its own with the great VandenBerghe and the rest of the team. They do all the live coverage of the rallies, all the live coverage of everything, and they're going to be all over Georgia. Okay, short commercial break. Raheem's going to come back. We got John McLaughlin, Sean Parnell, Jack Posobiec. Wow, I want to see the next hour of the show. Okay, and of course, Fog City Midge. We'll return in just a moment.